So YouTube, I hope that this video finds you guys doing well. I am making this video today because I had so much fun making the video last time on all of the French habits that I still have despite having been in New Zealand now for over 2 years. And I had so much fun filming that one, and the comment section is hilarious. Definitely go and check out that video if you haven't seen it already. But I also wanted to flip the script in this video and talk about some of the French habits that I have unfortunately lost. And this is not good news because I am applying for my French nationality in 10 months from now, and I have to come across as French. I have to be French, right, to be awarded the French nationality. And of course it's about speaking the language and knowing your culture, and also your dedication to the culture and your integration into the French way of life and your values and that kind of thing. It's about so much more than habits, but I do worry that I'm definitely losing a good French accent when I speak French, but I definitely worry that I'm losing some of these key things that feel very French, which are the little like ticks, right? That you're like, oh, that's a very French thing to do. C'est pas grave, it's not the end of the world if I'm losing these wee habits. But yeah, next year should be a really big year for me because we'll be able to go back to France, fingers crossed, but we should be able to go back to France after this awful time with COVID, and I will be applying for the French nationality. So I've got to French on up. But for now, let's talk about the ways that I've become a little bit less French. Just before diving in, if you are like me and you love to feel close to French language, French culture, one of the ways that I've stayed connected is through watching the news every day, through watching TV series, movies, and being connected to local entertainment and media websites. And I use NordVPN to do that. So they are the partners on today's video. And the only way that I'm able to do that is because I'm partnered with NordVPN. So I use NordVPN. It's a VPN that allows your computer to believe that it's in a different location. Couldn't be easier. I literally just have an extension in my browser and I just click that I would like to be located in France, and then I can access, you know, a French version of Netflix, all of the news sites, stream anything that I want to watch online as if I'm living in France locally, and it's so good for staying connected to the language and the culture. And so whether that's you for France or any other country that you want to feel closer to, maybe you want to be able to watch, I don't know, the BBC in the UK, maybe you want to watch local Swedish channels or US channels or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It allows you to do just that. And NordVPN have won loads of awards for being, you know, the best VPN, for being really fast. They have over 5,200 servers in 60 countries, so there's never any lag or anything like that. It's actually been confirmed by speed tests that it's the fastest VPN out there. And you can share your NordVPN account across 6 different devices. They can be Apple, they can be Mac, they can be Android TV, they could be Linux. It's all of the major operating systems are covered, and you can access websites literally from anywhere in the world. So I'm very happy to be able to bring a massive discount to you if you click on my link down below, nordvpn.com/notevenfrench, or you use the code NOTEVENFRENCH. You'll be able to access a 2-year plan plus a bonus gift with a really, really generous discount. So enjoy, and let me know what you're going to be watching in the comments below. All right, so the first French habit that I no longer have is this French search for words. And if you spent any time in France or around French people, you will know exactly what I mean. You can often see it when you're watching the news, for example, or some sort of debate or whatever. They do this search for word thing, and it's like they're trying to think of the word that's coming next. And so it'll be like le truc là, you know? And it'll be, and I don't know if it's because of the gender of the next word. They have to think about that maybe in that moment, like is it le or is it la? Or maybe that's just so ingrained. But they definitely search for their words, I'd say, more often than I've ever encountered in an English speaking environment. So it might be like, hey, c'est aussi pourquoi on doit, you know, and it really is searching for that word. And I want to tell you firsthand, this is absolutely a habit. it is a habit, because I didn't used to do that. And then whilst living in France, I started to do that. So while speaking in English, I would say, and I don't know if it's about starting my sentences before having fully formed my thought or what it is, because it's true that in France you have to get in there, you know, if you want to say your piece, and people are happy to kind of like interject and talk over each other. So maybe it's like you jump before you have a fully formed thought. But you know, I could absolutely be like, can you pass the guitar, you know? And I would do that more and more often, and I noticed that in my speech. And what I've noticed upon coming back is that I'm not really doing it anymore. And isn't that funny how something like that could be a habit? The next French habit that we have unfortunately dropped is having le pejo, that beautiful moment before dinner where you're allowed to snack on salty peanuts and olives and have maybe some alcohol or fizzy drink. It's sort of like, apart from breakfast where you might have orange juice or something, it's the only moment in the French culture where it's completely socially acceptable to have like fizzy drink and orange juice as like your drink of choice, like drinks that are kind of bad for you, you know, that you wouldn't usually have throughout the day or with your meal, where you'd more likely have water. And it's just this really nice little savory snack time before dinner. And this is a ritual that is ingrained in a lot of households, you know, just on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't have to be a special event, having friends over, although if you do, of course, you're gonna have le pejo, but it's just at home, you know, having some chips, having some peanuts or some, you know, cashew nuts, whatever that looks like, and some drinks before you eat a little bit later on. And I guess what we've done, it's kind of gotten halfway towards New Zealand culture. We don't eat as early as most New Zealanders, but we probably have dinner earlier than we would in France, around 7. And so we don't really need le pejo. I'm definitely going to be having a pejo every single day that I'm back in France. Something that I've absolutely let go of, and I'm out of the habit of doing, are my like formule de politesse. So when you write an email to people in France, there are rules to be followed. There's a certain way, you know, you do and do not open an email or close an email. There's a level of formality that needs to be taken into consideration, and the tone you use, the language you use, if it's tu, if it's vous. There's quite a bit of thinking that goes into, you know, emails, even in the workplace. A lot of things written between the lines sometimes, and they're definitely more strategic pieces of communication, I would say, in the French corporate workplace. And I've just completely let go of all of that kind of stuff. Ever since starting my own business, my emails are quick and dirty. Sometimes I don't even, you know, sign off. I'm just like, hey, yeah, that's cool with me, blah, 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 boom, send. Like, I've got my email signature. It just has to go so quickly. And in my communication style in general, I get to decide. I'm the boss of Badass Careers. And so our whole tone is very casual. I don't even know if I'd be fit to be able to go back into the French corporate workplace in terms of my writing. I would really need to scrub up and think again about hierarchy and politeness and formal writing and stuff, because I've let all of that go. Another thing that I have let go are some key things that I eat a lot less of. The first is yogurt. You know how the French people have to finish their meal on something sweet, and breakfast is sweet usually, and then you've got lunch and dinner that need to be sort of finished off on a sweet note. And the most common thing that you can take is either a piece of fruit or some yogurt, and or both. And so, you know, still Niels, I mean, every night after dinner, he will have his Greek yogurt with some chopped up fruit and a drizzle of honey, and he will have that every single night without fail, because you just have to have something sweet. And what that meant is that we would have a lot more Greek yogurt or natural yogurt in our diet, because we'd need it for every single breakfast, lunch and dinner, every day, yogurt. Whereas I'm not doing that really anymore, and so I hardly ever eat yogurt anymore actually. And same with the bread. So that would usually be something you'd have in the morning, like with a tartine, lunch and dinner as well, un bout de pain, like a bit of bread with every meal, and that doesn't happen so much anymore. Definitely more filling up just on the meal without needing the additional side of bread. I mean, it definitely helps here that the bread here isn't quite as good, so you don't have that nice beautiful like baguette tradition where you can like cut it and it's all like crusty but soft and holy on the inside, and you know, so obviously if it's less desirable, you're gonna eat less of it. And strong cheese doesn't happen over here. So I was just getting good at that French cheese. I was just opening my palate to the blue cheeses and the goat's cheeses and some much stronger cheeses. and I've lost that habit. It's gone. We just don't have good strong cheese over here, and I feel that I'm back at square one. Another French habit that I've definitely let go of is sort of keeping an eye out for what's on trend and integrating that and forming part of a uniform almost. So I think a lot of foreigners agree that you know, I'll speak out French women and French men as well, but look incredible and look very chic and very fashionable and in well-cut clothes and all of that kind of stuff. But something that we do kind of perceive is that there's absolutely a uniform. The Adidas Stan Smith shoes with 7/8 crop jeans that just cut at the ankle, skinny jeans, and a blouse or a jumper. And then if it was a bit colder, you would have sort of like a khaki colored trench coat with fur around the hood, right? Like that's coming into autumn. Like it was just incredible how uniform it was and how everyone's more or less wearing the same style at once. So it's almost like the base is quite classic, and then there'll be fashion trends, for example these Adidas Stan Smiths, and then everyone will own them and they'll all wear those. And again, this is very Paris, but it was quite interesting. It was like very much a group collective mentality of like what looks good. And I've completely let go of that. I just feel like everyone does more or less. Of course, there's such thing as fashion and trends and stuff, but I do feel like people in New Zealand are sort of careless and they just wear what they want more. And what that means is that, you know, in Paris and France, what's in is very subtle hair dye, if any at all, very classic nail colors, maybe a nude or a navy or a red, but nothing too flashy, and so on and so forth. And whereas in New Zealand, what I've been able to do is like stop looking around and stop sort of caring about that and just buy whatever I like the look of, to dye my hair pink or purple if I want to wear whatever colors I want on my nails, to wear bright flashy things. Like in France they say, oh, c'est un peu flashy, like when something's bright and bold, wearing bold prints. Like I bought a cute little shirt the other day that has like print of like little cats all over it. It's a bit kooky, like just whatever I like the look of, that's what I invest in. And I'm less into looking around me to see what we're all deciding to wear together. Another French habit that I have ditched is sleeping on the big square European pillows. Those big square pillows are the standard on beds when you're in France. And I mentioned this in my videos before. I just think they're a bit of a waste of space because like you've got your head on them, right? Like the pillow's here and you're like sleeping on it, and then you've still got half a head of pillow. Like they're just so big. And so we're definitely back down to the rectangles and what I would call the standard pillow back in New Zealand. Another French habit that I've lost is going to the doctors at the slightest thing, right? If I had a tickle in my throat, if I felt a bit off for whatever reason, I would often just go to the doctor, because why not? You go, you pay like 25, 30 euros and it gets reimbursed. So why wouldn't you? Whereas here in New Zealand, you have to be a little bit more cautious of that kind of stuff. Unless you have exceptions because of your income, going to the doctor can be 50, 60 New Zealand dollars, which is maybe around 40 euros, and it's not reimbursed. And so it's a bigger decision to go or not to go. And to be fair, I think I've been less sick in the last 2 years than I ever have been in my life, because people are taking more care of themselves and being more aware, and we've been, you know, distancing and that kind of thing. However, I do think that I and most New Zealanders would wait and see for a lot longer typically than just going straight to the doctor. So yay for the French health system. You guys are absolutely doing something right. Another French habit that I've unfortunately lost is my ability to cut a queue. You know that queuing in France, it's like every man for himself, right? You have to be ruthless. Like if you were at the bus stop and you arrived first, and then slowly but surely different people started to arrive, if that bus rocks up, people aren't going to be like, oh, go ahead, you know, as they would here. Everyone's just gonna be like, boom, like get out of my way, like, and they will be gunning for that door, and you might end up 8th in the queue, and too bad. So I had to get scrappy in France, and you had to learn to hold your own. And people would try and cut in when you're lining up for your groceries at the pharmacy, at the bus stop, whatever it looked like. And so you had to learn to push on in and that kind of thing. And even if you were, this is like, I feel bad even saying this out loud now, if you were in a really big rush, you might even be the one doing the cutting and trying to just shimmy on over. Now, in New Zealand, this is an absolute no-go. And even the other day, I thought that I was lining up for something and I was waiting there for ages. And what I realized is that, you know, when there's kind of two lines and you're in the wrong one and the real line is going around here and it actually ends over here. So the French me would have been able to just be like, oh, I've been waiting, the queue wasn't clear, you know, and just shimmy on in there. But I couldn't. I admitted defeat. I saw it. I made eye contact with the people, both who would be in front of me and behind me, and I just sheepishly walked around and joined the end of the queue. And then the last French habit that I've lost is around heating. So I've talked about this before. I feel like French people are hyper aware of the temperature. They're like suddenly like, il fait plus froid qu'avant, you know, like it's suddenly colder than before, and they've got this regulation. And I've definitely found myself out of that habit of noticing every single temperature change. You'd go crazy in New Zealand. The temperature's changing all the time. There's 4 seasons in one day. And so Niels will come home and he'll be horrified. He'll be like, it's 17 degrees in this house. And I'll be like, oh, I didn't notice. And he'll be like, how have you worked today? Like, it's not possible to work when it's this cold. And it's sort of like, I just don't really notice anymore. Like the temperature fluctuates all the time. It's not worth dedicating mental energy to. And so I've definitely lost the habit of like noticing and commenting on temperature fluctuations, if I'm cold, if I'm hot, and like sharing that with other people. Like, oh, I feel quite hot now. I feel like, you know, I'm just sort of like, it's cold. Like I'll put a jumper on, like get over it kind of thing, you know. That's kind of just something I've definitely lost for sure, is that monitoring of temperature and state. All right, friends, what do you think? I don't think it's too bad. I don't think they're going to strip the French nationality off me when I try to go for it in 10 months, but definitely some little bits and pieces that I have de-Frenchified from my life. I would love to hear from you if you're a French person who's lived abroad. What habits did you find yourself losing? Or if you've lived in France and then have left, or if you're in France, what habits have you found yourself losing from your home country as well? That would be super fascinating to me. I'm obsessed with cultures and culture shocks and that kind of stuff, so I'm sure I will have a good laugh at all of your comments. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching all the way until the end, and I will catch you here next week on the Not Even French YouTube channel. À bientôt!